gun-grabbing, freedom-hating, over-regulating, civil liberty-violating tyrants, here's my message. Thank you.
And with that, two fingers flew into the air and made State Representative Bobby Kaufman's message crystal clear. Kaufman was part of a group yesterday calling for a convention of states. The goal is to limit the federal government's powers. Some people agree that's a pretty good idea. Not everybody likes it. A lot of people just don't like how he went about expressing it. Our political director, WHO 13's Dave Price, joins us now. Dave, a lot of reaction to this gesture across the country at this point.
It really is, and a lot of people have been paying attention to this. You have some people who were offended by his choice yesterday and others who were fine with the passion that he showed here. We want to bring in Bob Vander Plaats, who is not fine with this. He's the president and CEO of the Family Leader. Thanks for being in here. Now, you made the decision. You know, when you tweet, obviously you got to think about, do I want to do this, do I not want to do this? Because it goes public. Why did you decide to do it?
Well, too often I tweet before I think. But on this one, I really did think before I tweeted. You know, you can be right on an issue. And Bobby Kaufman and I will agree many times on the issues. I just thought it took away from the debate. To me, it's not leadership. This is no way you win a debate. And I just think there needs to be a higher standard for those of us who are called to lead, especially in the public sphere, the public arena, to set a much higher standard.
Okay, that's your tweet that you put up earlier today. And now let's show Representative Kaufman's response to you. Very interesting coming from you, Bob. I've never seen you send out an email or make a statement on public policy without asking for a donation. I suppose that is your definition of leadership. What's that about?
You know, I think what it is he's upset that I would call him out on that. But I think all Iowans should call him out on that. And not just Bobby Kaufman, but anybody who wants to operate in that manner, in, again, a public arena where you're a leader. Right now, we have good Republicans, Governor Reynolds, as well as many good Democrats, who are calling out what's going on in our public schools today with obscene and vulgar materials. Well, then we can't take a stage and give two middle fingers to people that it just doesn't connect. So to me, if we're going to lead, you put the cause above yourself and you reach for the highest of standards. That's why we say look higher, think bigger. And we as a people, we should expect more. And that's what I'm trying to do right here.
Some of the responses to this that some others had posted on social media is, you're offended by this, you know, what about this or what about this? So what do you say about that? There's something worse than this.
Well, first of all, two wrongs don't make it right. My mom taught me that. Your mom taught you that. The other one is you will never be wrong when you do what's right, but you'll never be right when you do what's wrong. So I'd say let's try to do what's right. Let's try to reach to the higher standard, and let's have vigorous debate. This country was built on vigorous debate, but it's not about just giving obscene gestures for those who disagree with you. That's not leadership.
The other day we had the President of the United States, whether he knew he was on the microphone or not, it might be kind of hard to tell, but he called a Fox News reporter an SOB. The former president routinely used swear words and called people names and all that kind of stuff. Is this just part of what politics is today, or
absolutely
this
not?
Out of proportion?
Absolutely not. I don't think we should tolerate it to that point. You know, Donald Trump and I have been friends for probably well over a decade. But I've been a friend of him where I've called him out when I think he's went outside the bounds as well. President Biden the other day with Ducey, the reporter with Fox News, he was totally wrong. And again, I think we as a people, we should expect a higher standard from those who are leading, especially in the public sphere. Have the vigorous debate, but you don't win a debate by obscene gestures or vulgarities.
So where does the conversation go? So we see that he's kind of pushing back at your public criticism of him. Why is it your place to even criticize him?
Well, part of it is that I'm a citizen. I'm part of the governed, you know, that gives the consent, so to speak. And I think we can go ahead and have a vigorous debate. I happen to believe, given two middle fingers, whether it's on a sports field, or whether it's in a classroom, or whether it's at a public arena at the state capitol, I believe that's wrong. And I think any leader would recognize that's wrong. That's not what you do.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
You bet.
Dan, just to let everybody know here, we did reach out to the Republican Party of Iowa. You know, in this case, it's kind of a two-way here. Jeff Kaufman is the chair of the state party. He's also the father of Representative Bobby Kaufman. Have not heard back from a response for that. We also reached out to Representative Kaufman and to Speaker of the House Pat Grassley, who's the leader of the Republicans in the House, and have not heard back from either one of them to see whether they approve of what happened here or have any kind of response.
Dave, thanks for adding more context to this on the day after it happened, and we're going to look to you to keep doing that as it moves forward. Appreciate you. We're back right after this.